most powerful things that you can do when you're manifesting is to really work on getting your subconscious mind fully on board. And one of the ways you can get an idea of what's happening in your subconscious mind is by looking at your shadow.
Hi, I'm Crystal Iram, and I'm one of the top love, dating, and manifestation coaches for smart, successful women like you. I share content on understanding men in the masculine, dating as a high-value woman, and manifesting love, so be sure to subscribe and hit the bell so that you don't miss anything.
There are sometimes beliefs that we have about ourselves that we find so repugnant that we're just like, I cannot stand this thing about myself. I absolutely hate this thing about myself. And we feel that so strongly that we cannot even accept that it's a part of ourselves. We are not even willing to acknowledge that we have this particular quality or this particular trait because we hate it so much. So this is what is often referred to as your shadow. These are qualities that exist within you that you basically refuse to accept. And the way that this often shows up is that we spot these qualities in someone else rather than ourselves. So maybe there's this part of you that is just very bratty, right? Like this bratty little girl. And you were really berated for that. Maybe your parents gave you a very hard time about it and made you feel so bad that you began to hate this quality that existed in yourself. And so instead of acknowledging this part of you or learning how to accept it, you'll notice it in other people. And when someone else is being bratty, you're like, oh, she's being so bratty, it's so annoying. And you get very bothered and sort of triggered by the way someone else is acting, right? It's like you almost allow yourself to be victimized by this particular quality that you're seeing over and over again. And this is what is often referred to as projection, because you're looking at a quality that exists within you that you absolutely cannot stand. And you're, instead of hating it in yourself, you're detesting it in that other person. So this is a really good way of knowing what some of your shadows are. What are some of the things about yourself that you absolutely cannot stand? What are some of the things that you see in other people that drive you wild? It is such a powerful hint that they are mirroring something back to you, something that you really don't like about yourself. And here's the thing that's powerful about this. When you can become aware of what your shadow is, these aspects of yourself that you've been so ashamed of and humiliated by and embarrassed about, so much so that you're unwilling to acknowledge them, when you can become aware of them and begin to accept them, it creates a huge shift in energy because it's like you're creating this greater acceptance of yourself. In the same way that when you are being a victim of some circumstance, it's like when you become a victim of your own qualities that you don't like, you're dispersing your power. The more that you can accept yourself, the more personal power you have. The more that you accept yourself and the more personal power you have, the greater ability you have to manifest the things that you desire into your life. So it's a really, really powerful activity, thing to do, practice, and it's a really powerful way of seeing what's happening in your own subconscious. It gives you a huge clue of what's going on with you. Otherwise, it just sort of stays in the dark and sort of beneath the surface, but it's still operating in your life, and it's often driving you in a really big way. And it sort of shows up in two other ways. One of them is that if you have these things about yourself that you are absolutely despising so much that you cannot acknowledge them, it creates this thing where it's like you're expecting other people to hate this quality as much as you do. You are expecting to be rejected because you hate this thing, right? It's like you're rejecting a part of yourself, and so that comes mirrored back to you as well, where it's like people will also reject you. And it's very tricky and painful with these shadow things because people will still notice them sometimes, right? It's like you might have really tried to push it under the surface so you don't have to acknowledge that you have this particular quality. But if someone else ever picks up on it and mentions it to you, it's so much more painful than a quality that you're aware of, but that you might not like, or from something you don't really think is true, right? So this is something that often triggers people. If you have something that you've been rejecting, you absolutely hate seeing it so much in yourself that you're unwilling to look at it, but you see it in other people sometimes, and then someone calls you out for having the same thing, it's painful. It feels like a knife right to the stomach because you're like, this is this thing that I hate so much. And now someone is rejecting me for it. Someone is also rejecting this quality in me because you've been rejecting it. So this is a very, very powerful thing to do and a powerful way to sort of start to shift your subconscious, because when you can accept all parts of yourself, it makes it easier for someone else to accept all parts of themselves, and it makes it easier for you to accept other people as well. You got to think about the way that you're likely to judge people that you're getting to know. A lot of the things that you may be judging them about are based on these projections, based on these shadow things that you haven't been able to accept about yourself. Taking ownership of and even accepting these aspects of your shadow that you have been pushing away is a really powerful way that you can use your subconscious mind to manifest the love that you want, but also in other areas of your life as well. So this is a very powerful technique. It's not the most fun one. It's a little bit uncomfortable looking at this stuff, but it can make such a massive difference. So I hope this video really served you well, and I will see you in the next one.